Clemson's coming with the Batman reset, but is it real? We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM, The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And for the everydayers out there, we give a big salute to you. Thank you for tuning in again. You know how we do it here, Monday through Friday, every single week, exclusive Clemson content right here for you. And if you're new to this show, well, welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning in and trying us out. And make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the episode. I know you will, because we've got a jam-packed show for you today, talking about Boston College and what Clemson needs to do to get a win this weekend, or really tomorrow. But before we get into anything, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. The coaches have let Cade Klubnik know that he is their Batman, that they want him to be their leader, and to remember how good he is and who he is. And really, it's just a fun way of saying that you're the leader of the team, and we trust you to take this team forward to the next step and rebound off of a poor start to the season. Cade is the offensive leader for this team. There are a few other players on the team that also will help out. And it's really going to be a group collective effort to be able to continue this winning streak. And I say streak, I know it's just one game, but really, let's go ahead and just say it's a streak, because we want to anticipate the win coming in this Saturday. Clemson needs to come in with that type of confidence. They can't just hope that they will get a win. They need to deliberately execute and focus on having the best as the standard and business standard, and pushing that forward and making sure they walk away from Massachusetts with a W. Everybody knows what's the expectation, and it clearly shows up in the game with better focus, better execution, fewer penalties. That's what you want to see with the game plan going forward, is this team starting out hot and confident. I'm not even saying that they have to get a bunch of points to start out the very first half or the first quarter like they did against the Tar Heels. We just want to continue to see a team that looks like they know what they're doing, and that is difficult to keep off the field. Third down is, to me, a big factor for this game, really for the rest of the season. But Clemson has not been very good with third down conversions on offense this season. And that type of play and that critical situational, in those critical situations on third down, Clemson has to get better there. And it starts with against North Carolina, and it continues against Boston College, and really, again, for the rest of the season. But you got to build on something. Clemson needs to look at the areas where they are struggling and start to make marked improvements in those areas as we continue this season going forward. The offense has to stay on the field. Time of possession has been a big problem for this team. Third down conversions have been a big problem for this team. Red zone efficiency has been, and success has been a problem for this team. Keep their defense on the field. Keep your defense off the field. Win those third downs. Control the game. And again, doesn't have to be like a bunch of points. I'm not saying that they need to score like 60 points here, but they need to stay on the field the longest. The spread right now is like 14 and a half. It started out, I think it might be 13 and a half, or it started out 13 and a half. Now it's 14 and a half. Clemson can walk away with a 20-point, 30-point win and limit Boston College to possessions, and limit them to single digits or maybe even just double digits. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Boston College walk away with just 7 points. And then Clemson would need, say, 28 to cover the spread and to walk away with a solid win. Again, this team's still trying to figure out their identity. They're making slow improvements, but they've got to continue it against Boston College and execute in the right times. The first 3 offensive drives, to me, are where we will really see how well this team is continuing to grow and develop and get better. Those first 3 offensive drives, you'll need to see Cade Klubnik staying in the pocket, playing confident, the offense having good balance between running the ball and passing the ball, planned shots downfield to specific players at specific times. If you convert a third down, which they need to improve on, but when they convert, those early downs can be times for your shots to the end zone or shots to big plays. Keep them on their toes, but take the shots when you have the opportunity to do so. Making sure you can sustain significant drives with purpose and confidence in the first 3 drives of the game, to me, are going to be critical, because that'll get you through, I would say, into the second quarter. And then we want to see Clemson turn this game into maybe a full 4 quarters. I know if they get a big lead, Dabo's probably going to go back into getting those backups more film. And I think that's very important as well to do for long-term sustainability and development for this team. Another thing I want to see that proved to me that this reset has gotten better, this Batman reset is real, is that the penalties from the offensive line have got to improve or reduce. These pre-snap penalties and flags, like false start, lining up in the wrong position, being downfield incorrectly, too far downfield, clean those things up, because teams that should make it to the postseason and have success cannot shoot themselves in the foot with these penalties like Clemson has seen. I don't want to see repeated penalties over and over and over either. And if players are doing that, then you've got to sit them on the bench. You've got to hold them accountable directly with playing time. Movement of the ball as well in those first 3 drives. Movement of the ball, but I don't just mean, with the chains. I mean movement around to different players. I want to see that variety that we've continued to see versus the Tar Heels. 13 wide receivers were used in the first half. So Clemson needs to continue that as well. More players touching the ball, but more players touching the ball when they need to in the right moments. Christian Bentancur in the red zone. That's one that you could probably work on, that you could keep going with. Tristan Smith with those one-on-one jump ball scenarios. That's the one that you could probably do well with. TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco getting open and finding them in one-on-one situations. Antonio Williams. You have a lot of weapons. Adam Randall. There's a ton of weapons, but you have to spread the ball around, and you have to call the numbers at the right time in the right situations. And it's going to be up to Garrett Riley to continue to prove that he can do so. I still have a lot of doubts about Garrett Riley and what his maximum ability is and what he can actually do for this team long term, because it still seems very inconsistent and uncoordinated at times. And when it's not coordinated and they don't look like they're playing together or things don't match up, well, it goes back to who's calling those plays, who's making those decisions, and it has to fall on the offensive coordinator. Garrett Riley was seen as one of the best offensive coordinators in the market, even though he really wasn't in the market at the time, but one of the best offensive minds out there that Dabo could go get. But we still have some questions about what he's able to do consistently and against the more difficult competition. Boston College, not going to really check the box off for more difficult competition, but he needs to show us that he can be more consistent throughout an entire game. And that means not just having a great first quarter and some sleepy second, third, fourth quarter. We want to see a more continued game plan. Boston College, on the flip side with the defense, has some players as well from Dylan Lonergan. He's going to try to pass the ball, to 2. He's got 2 outside wide receivers that he trusts and a tight end. We'll talk about the matchups and my prediction against Boston College for this Saturday night here on segment 2. And stick with us right here on Locked On Clemson. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For Clemson, my player of choice for this past weekend, was Cade Klubnik. He finished 22 of 24, 254 yards and 10.6 yards average with 4 touchdowns and a QBR and no interceptions and a QBR of 96.44. On the stat sheet, it was one of his best games all season. He stayed in the pocket longer and took some hits, but was able to make some better throws and have a little bit better timing against the Tar Heels. Look for him to carry that forward and continue doing that and be more consistent as the weeks go on. And just like Cade Klubnik delivered for Clemson, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday, keep the streak alive, fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period runs through November 18th. And this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You know I love FanDuel because it's easy for even a casual fan to get in there. You can look at the different analytics and stats that they have real time in the app and make an educated decision. And you can even do things during the game, throughout the process in your fantasy team, whatever it may be. Really, really fun. And you can do all kinds of really exciting things over on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. Clemson needs to play a clean, full 4 quarters of football. Boston College really shouldn't be able to keep up much at all in this game. When we talk about the injury report, it is a mile wide, to say the least. There are many, many defensive players on the Boston College side that are injured and will not play in this game. And so Clemson should be ready to attack and be aggressive and stay aggressive against this team. This is an opportunity for them to continue to figure out what their identity is on offense, using everything that they can to come out and show that they're confident and they are aggressive and they know exactly how to play football. Using play action will really kind of get the defense keep the defense on their toes. They won't really know what's going on. With the fact that you have an X factor in Adam Randall, you can't really trust that he's always going to run the ball, because he's definitely one of those guys that can come out of the backfield and kill you in the receiving game. That type of stuff will help make Clemson very, very lethal as the season goes on because of Adam Randall and how versatile he is. You will be able to keep defensive players honest by his ability to run the ball and then turn around and get those wide receivers open. Clemson cannot forget about their running game. Although I get where Dabo Swinney was talking about with the Tar Heels, when you had a game where you threw for 399 yards, 89 yards rushing is not that big of a deal because you obviously found something working in the passing game. And while I agree, the biggest thing that Clemson needs to continue to remember is that they cannot forget about the running game. So even though the passing game is being successful, they still got to keep a little bit of balance in there to keep those defenses honest. I want to see successful rotations with Adam Randall, Gideon Davison, and David Ezeomume. I liked how they did, complete drives with these players. And they didn't just kind of spell them here and there. They had a full drive where a certain running back got all the film, got all the play, so you can really see what they're able to do if they were in a spot to be a number 1 running back. So I'd like to see more of that. Give them a dedicated drive to show what they can do. Same thing for the wide receivers as well, whether it be Tristan Smith or Christian Bentancur. Give other guys some opportunities to show what they can do in multiple plays throughout a drive, and that will help give you more film and make a better evaluation moving forward. Clemson, again, should be able to attack this defense in any way possible. They have injuries on the defensive line, at the linebackers, and at the in the secondary. I was asked today on the radio, who do I think is going to have the most receiving yards? For me, it's hard not to say and give that to Bryant Wesco. He's the leader on the team, and he's had more games than anybody else where he's done extremely well. And as you know, he gets a ton of yards after catch. So my first instinct is to say Bryant Wesco will be that guy to lead the team and have the most receiving yards. Now, TJ Moore was able to get it last week with 108 yards against the Tar Heels, but a big chunk of that came from that one play that was 75 yards. So after that, you had about 33 yards that were spread out over 4 different passes. So a big chunk there for TJ Moore. Bryant Wesco, I think, has been the more consistent guy. So he'd be the one that I would say, hey, if you're looking at somebody to go 100 yards receiving, probably be Bryant Wesco. But considering this team is also very thin at the linebacker position, I can see where that could open up your tight ends, or maybe even open up Adam Randall in the play action game, in the check down game, or even the wheel route that he was able to exploit against the Tar Heels. So I wouldn't be surprised if you let me pick Adam Randall as the one that would maybe possibly lead the team in receptions. He almost did it last weekend with 73 yards total reception. He was second on the list. It's really great how versatile he has become, and the defenses really have to respect him no matter if it's running or receiving. But the probability for me has to go back, like I said, to Wesco. It all centers around that offensive line, though. You know, I mentioned to you that I've been disappointed with how what Matt Luke's trying to do on offensive line and what Garrett Riley's trying to do with the play calling just doesn't seem to match up. It's made these players worse, and we're seeing that they're giving up the initial block in order to get to the second level, and that initial block is actually making the plays. And they got a little bit better with it against the Tar Heels. They need to continue, as Eric McLean says, to just block the guy your first initial block. Make sure you get a good block on that guy before you start trying to work your way up to the next level. You can't just barely touch the guy and then move to the linebacker, you know, because then that defensive end or defensive tackle is going to have a better chance to be a part of that play and stop the play. So Clemson's offensive line needs to continue to improve. I don't think they had the best game against the Tar Heels, but any game where you walk away with a win is something that you can be proud of and still work on the problems that you have. On Clemson's defense as well, I'm not as worried about them running the ball, because Boston College, the crazy thing is they have a running back named Turbo Richard, but he's not really been running the ball that well for this team. They really are more of a passing team. And that to me does concern me a little bit. We've seen so far this season that Clemson, when they can't get pressure in the backfield, what does that open up? Well, that opens up one-on-one options to the outside, and guys like Steve Angeli were able to kind of pick apart Clemson's secondary, and Garrett Nussmeier as well kind of picked and choose where he was going to pick apart Clemson's secondary. And I don't like that. Haynes King as well had some good passes in there. So I don't like that about Clemson's offense or defense. I think that they're a little bit weak in the secondary and pass defense. And it really kind of revolves around the fact they just can't get that kind of pressure that you were looking for when you're playing in a cover 0 or a cover 1. And the worry that I have is that Bill O'Brien is more of a pro-style offensive mind, and he's going to have those tight ends out there. So with him utilizing tight ends, and you know Boston College typically has good offensive linemen, how well will Clemson be able to get into the backfield? Will Dylan Lonergan have all day to throw the ball around? I won't really like that if that's the case. At the end of the day, it comes down to third down efficiency. You cannot let Boston College be better than you on third down, and you cannot let one team like Boston College have more turnovers than you as well, because that'll make it more difficult to win this game. It's still a road game, whether or not they should blowout, Boston College or not, it is still a road game that you should be very cautious with about letting it get out of hand because of turnovers. So you have to protect the football, whether that be Adam Randall or Cade Klubnik. Those two have been probably the most egregious when it comes to either fumbling or throwing interceptions. So they have to work to protect the football at all costs tomorrow night. Now, my ultimate prediction for the game, I will go ahead and tell you, I think that Clemson can walk away with, say, like a 28-7 win over Boston College. I'm still not fully bought in on the fact that they can be up in the 30s or 40s, but this would be a team of all teams with a defense as hurt as they are, that they could put up a lot of points. So I wouldn't be shocked if Clemson did get in the realm of the 30 to 40 point range because of Boston College's injuries that they're dealing with right now. All right, hey, we're going to finish up segment 3, talking about our checklist and things to watch for during the game so you can be the most informed Clemson fan tomorrow night. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that kept moving the game forward is Adam Randall's wheel route to the outside for a touchdown. Adam Randall's ability to continue to get open in space has been a huge blessing for this team. 522 total all-purpose yards for him. He's getting it done in the running game as a running back, and he's also still contributing very, very heavily in the receiving game. He's having the best season he's ever had while being a Clemson Tiger with 6 total touchdowns on the season. He's never had that many. The best he's ever had was last year where he had only 2 touchdowns. So he had 2 touchdowns on the season and now, or on his career, and now this season alone, he has 6. So Adam Randall and his ability to be versatile out of the backfield keeps moving this team forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. I think there's a lot of things that you can look to, and you probably want to tell me as well. And if you're part of this show, thank you so much. Before I go into it, I want to say thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the video. Everything that you do, every watch, every click, every heart, whatever it may be, helps improve the algorithm, gets the show out there to other Clemson fans, and helps me, overall be able to provide you better coverage as we continue. I've been enjoying it so far during the football season, albeit I wasn't hoping that Clemson would be having a below 500 record, but maybe they'll make that right this Saturday and go to 500 at 3-3 overall. What are some things that you want to look for during the game? Let me know in the comments over on YouTube or message me over on X at the Morgan T Show. There are a few things that I want to see for sure, and it really starts with the line of scrimmage. I'm curious to see how much protection Boston College brings to this game, how much they trust their 5 offensive linemen, or how much do they feel like they need additional helpers with those 5? Do they have 6? Do they have 7? How much additional help do they need to keep Clemson out of the backfield? And how many players does Clemson need to get to the backfield? We've looked at the Clemson defense versus the Tar Heels, and they really did a multiple front, 3 down linemen, 4 down linemen, 2 down linemen, nickels, 4-3, 3-4, 3-3-5. They did all kinds of different variations on the defense. And their ability to do that, 1, shows how versatile and talented this team is, but 2, I believe they're still trying to figure out what works best for this team. To me, as I mentioned on the radio today, it seems as if this team does better with more linebackers. You'd rather have one of the backup linebackers than one of the backup nickel position players, maybe even more than Tink Kelly, the starting nickel position guy, unless it's maybe Khalil Barnes, who right now needs to move back to safety. So if you look at that, I feel as if you're going to still be in the 4-2-5, it has to be with Khalil at the nickel position. Or if you're not going to do that, then maybe you can put in Jeremiah Alexander and make it a more traditional 4-3. I enjoyed what I saw against the Tar Heels with giving Jeremiah Alexander more snaps. So I do believe, and also Kobe McLeod, I do believe those two guys are worth getting more opportunities out on the field because of what they've been able to do so far. But really getting that pressure and how much Boston College needs to protect in order to stop it. The best situation would be that Clemson could send just the bare minimum, 4, but we really haven't seen that work out very well at all. So I'm curious to see how many people they need to send to get any type of pressure on Dylan Lonergan. The Boston College is very confident in their passing game. And so if you give him time to pick you apart, he can pick you apart with just 1 or 2 wide receivers out there. So that'll get kind of frustrating if you can't get into the backfield. Another thing that I'm looking for, at least on the offensive side of the ball in that line of scrimmage, is just how they can keep the blocking scheme simple. I don't want to see guys give up the initial block in order to get downfield, only for the guy that they gave up on to make the tackle. We've seen that too much. We've also seen the pulls. Garrett Riley came in with this big game plan of pulling offensive linemen. And I don't know if it's talent or skill, ability, whatever it may be, but pulling those offensive linemen seemed to be a very difficult task for Clemson's players to do. It hasn't really worked out for most of the time that Garrett Riley has been here. Now, sometimes it works out great and ends up being a big play, but I would say more often than not, pulling the offensive lineman from one side to another doesn't work out as much as you would like. Especially, I hate it when they pull and that's just a decoy part of the play. Because what usually happens is, if you've seen, the edge rusher will just follow the pulling player and end up right in the backfield, right where they need to be to make the tackle. So the offensive line and the play calling need to get on the same page with what their intent is, what they're trying to do. And they need to reinstill that idea of, hey, we are going to finish our blocks, our first line of blocks first, before we need to move forward. Honestly, with the talent level that Clemson has at being able to get yards after contact or yards after the catch, I'm not super worried about offensive linemen needing to go into the second or third level, because Adam Randall can bruise you. Adam Randall can get by you. And so he's going to make you pay if he gets to you in the second level. He's faster than most linebackers, and he can knock over a safety. So necessarily getting an offensive lineman to the second or third level is not really as important as it may have been in the past for Garrett Riley or Clemson. Another thing I want to see is again, how much in the first 3 drives are they spreading the ball around to the right players at the right times? Are they making calculated plays to the right players at the right times? And is Cade staying in the pocket? I guess you could split those up into 2. So let's split those up into 2 of Cade staying in the pocket, being confident. I want to see Cade get hit. I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't want him to get hurt or anything like that. I really don't want him to get any sacks, but I'd rather him get hit in the pocket because he's staying in the pocket than constantly getting flushed out or flushing himself out prematurely. He needs to be able to prove that he can stay in the pocket and step up in the pocket and make those pass plays as it's collapsing, because that's what happens in the NFL almost every single play. You're making those plays as everything's coming in on you from the edge, from the inside, whatever it may be. You don't have a ton of time in the NFL before it all collapses on you, and you really don't have a lot of time in the college either. Cade needs to make sure that he gains that confidence. We know he can scramble. We know he likes that, but that doesn't always work out because he's not as fast as he thinks he is, and he's not as good as reading the field as he is. So staying in the pocket for me. So I'll give you a mark here. First one is blocking up front. Second one is Cade Klubnik and his ability to stay in the pocket. And then that third one would be moving the ball around to the right players at the right time. I want to see specific design plays to move the chain with Antonio Williams, specific design plays to get Christian Bentancur in space, Tristan Smith in space, all the key guys, and even Adam Randall out of the backfield. Really, they just, as you keep going down the list, they have so many weapons. They just have to be utilized in the right way. And I believe Clemson is closer than they've ever been. And this will be another game where they can continue to build that confidence and prove to everyone else watching that they actually know what they're doing. And I'll give you one bonus thing that I'm looking for. It's not explosive plays. It is turnovers. Clemson did really well at the beginning of the season, getting some turnovers, but they've kind of gone silent so far. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do this season. All right. Hey, thank you again for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. Really appreciate the everydayers out there being a part of the show. Get in there. Let me know where you're from and how long you've been watching, how long you've been subscribing. If you're on YouTube, or give me a shout over on X at The Morgan T Show. But again, thank you so much again for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. Don't forget to check out Locked On ACC with Kitten Gibbs and Alex Donna, breaking down the most interesting college conference in college sport, and that is the ACC. Rivalries and championships between every game. Find Locked On ACC on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, everyone. I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. We will see you after the game on the post-game show right here on Locked On Clemson. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.